With the release of Shin Megami Tensei 4 drawing near, Atlus's Japanese role-playing game series, Shin Megami Tensei, is bringing new players into the series like never before. However, with a rich history of games going as far back as 1987, the series isn't necessarily the easiest to get into. This series of videos is meant to help those of you watching that want to get into the series and experience the beautiful stories that Shin Megami Tensei games have to offer. While every SMT game has a different plot, the main theme of the series is the analyzation of your own belief system and fighting for your opportunity to change the world to your will. Generally, the games are about two factions of supernatural entities with opposing belief systems, and they end up fighting within the realm of humans, Earth. The forces of law are led by the Abrahamic God and his angels, and believe in equality and peace for all living creatures. However, the forces of law are more than willing to kill all of those that even slightly attempt to deviate from such a society, and more often than not, equality and peace means the enslavement of humanity and the loss of their free will. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the forces of chaos, ruled by the fallen angel Lucifer, believe in freedom and power. The Chaos faction wishes for a world where the strong survive and the weak are left to die, caring more about free will and strength rather than peace. And in the middle is neutrality, the rejection of both sides and the belief that humanity should believe in itself, and to avoid relying on the supernatural. While neutrality may seem like the best of both alignments, the possibility is very real that humanity will destroy itself and no supernatural entities will come to save us. Usually, neutrality isn't so much of a faction as it is the protagonist and his allies making a stand to defeat the Law and Chaos factions and bring the world back to normal. The moral ambiguity of the three possible alignments is a large part of the series, and it's up to the player to decide what path humanity should follow. Gameplay-wise, the most unique feature of the Shin Megami Tensei series is the ability to recruit and fuse enemy demons for use in your party. While some people are quick to shout Pokemon ripoff, Megami Tensei 1, which was made in 1987, actually was the first role-playing game to have a large amount of recruitable minions to collect, effectively inventing the Mon genre 9 years before Pokemon did. And trust me, you're going to need all the demons you can get. SMT has always taken pride in providing challenging gameplay on top of excellent story. Buffs and debuffs, instant death spells, elemental strengths and weaknesses, and tactical negotiation are all major components of Shin Megami Tensei gameplay. While some recent games in the series provide an easy mode, those of you not ready to take on a challenge should turn back now. As of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the series has adopted a battle system known as the press turn system. If a party member attacks an enemy with an attack the enemy is weak to, the party will be rewarded an extra turn. However, if the enemy hits a party member with an attack the party member is weak to, the enemy will gain an extra turn. This system rewards players that build a diverse party, whose members cover one another's weaknesses, while also having access to a wide range of attack options to exploit enemy weaknesses. But how did Shin Megami Tensei become what it is today? Well, it all starts from a story that was not a game, but a novel. Digital Devil's Story is a trilogy of novels about a bullied high school student who creates a computer program to summon demons. The original Megami Tensei for the Famicom was more or less a sequel to the first two books in the trilogy, and focused on a boy and a girl traversing a labyrinth in order to defeat Lucifer and rescue the kidnapped goddess Izanami. The name Megami Tensei translates to reincarnation of the goddess, which comes from a character from the story being the reincarnation of the goddess Izanami. The sequel, Megami Tensei 2, wasn't based as much on the novels, but instead took the ideas and themes of demons attacking Earth and being summoned by electronics and ran with it. Set in a post-apocalyptic Japan, the main character and his friend are contacted by the demon Pazuzu and told that they must save Earth. The game's plot was quite unique at the time, involving a modern-day setting, party member betrayal, and multiple endings based on your decision of siding with God or Lucifer. It wasn't until Shin Megami Tensei, or True Reincarnation of the Goddess, for the Super Famicom that the series solidified its gameplay and themes. The game mastered the idea of branching paths and multiple endings, and introduced the neutral alignment. Instead of taking place after the apocalypse, the protagonist and his friends are at the forefront of the demon invasion and helplessly watched as civilization falls apart. Eventually, the protagonist's two best friends leave the party, one becoming a follower of law, while the other becomes a follower of chaos. No matter which of the three alignments the player chooses, friends will have to kill friends and millions of lives are lost in the conflict. Shin Megami Tensei was praised for its challenging gameplay, deep characters, and mature plot that was seen as ahead of its time in terms of role-playing games. Moving forward, Shin Megami Tensei was followed up by two Super Famicom games, Shin Megami Tensei 2 and Shin Megami Tensei If. Both games carried over the gameplay from the original, while also telling new stories. Also for the Super Famicom, Majin Tensei 1 and 2 were strategy RPG spin-offs that replaced the first-person dungeon-crawling gameplay with a tactical turn-based battle system. With the next generation of consoles on the way, Atlus was preparing to jump ship from Nintendo in order to create games for Sega and Sony platforms. However, Atlus created a series of spin-offs called Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible, geared more toward younger players and set in a world based on fantasy and not modern Japan. Last Bible 1 and 2 came out for the Game Boy, while Last Bible 3 came out for the Super Nintendo. With the release of the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation came two new spin-off series, Devil Summoner and Megami Ibun Roku Persona. The Devil Summoner games were more like detective mysteries than post-apocalyptic epics, but demons still played a major role. The gameplay, while largely similar to the main series, featured a loyalty system for your demons. If you made a demon perform actions in battle it enjoyed, the demons would reward you by giving you free items and listening to your orders. However, if the player made the demon perform actions it disliked, the demon would refuse to listen to your commands in battle and could possibly even leave you. The Megami Ibon Roku Persona games focused more on heavy character development, psychology, and exploring how ordinary people would have to get over their personality flaws in order to take on the invading demons. The name Megami Ibon Roku translates to Record of the Goddess's Strange Tales, and was meant to show that the game did not take place in the same continuity as the main Shin Megami Tensei series. While no Nintendo 64 Shin Megami Tensei games were made, Atlus continued supporting the Game Boy family handhelds. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Children was a lighter take on the franchise's story and gameplay, and redesigned the games to look more like cute Pokemon instead of vicious creatures. This spin-off series was actually the first to come to Western shores with the Shin Megami Tensei branding intact. Persona 1 and Last Bible 1 had previously been released in the US under the titles Revelations Persona and Revelations the Demon Slayer, but Atlus USA decided to use the Shin Megami Tensei branding instead, starting with Shin Megami Tensei Demi Kids for Game Boy Advance, a translated version of Devil Children Light Book and Dark Book. Moving into the next generation, Shin Megami Tensei 9 released to a rocky start. Planned as an MMORPG, only the offline mode was released and the online component was cancelled due to the numerous delays and the lack of support for the Xbox in the Japanese market. While Atlus failed to establish a place for Shin Megami Tensei on Xbox, the PlayStation 2 would prove to be the series' new home. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne was the long-awaited sequel to Shin Megami Tensei 2, coming out 9 years after 2. The game released to critical acclaim, with fans rejoicing at the chance to play a true 3D entry in the main series. The plot was about a high school boy being turned into a half-demon, and being given the power to reshape the world after it has ended. Players and reviewers alike praised the game's minimalistic approach. The minimal amount of main characters left a strange sense of isolation, and the wasteland of Earth, known as the Vortex World in-game, provided a haunting atmosphere throughout the adventure. Nocturne was followed up by a new spin-off series, Digital Devil Saga. Instead of collecting demons, the party members of the two Digital Devil Saga games transformed into them. While also using the press turn system introduced in Nocturne, the setting and lack of demon recruitment meant that Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 felt more like a traditional PS2 RPG than Nocturne did. In 2006, Persona 3 was released. Persona 3 revamped the dungeon crawling and character development from the previous Persona games by introducing social simulation elements. Each weekday, the protagonist would go to school to interact with other students and go to class, and at night was given the option to explore Tartarus, a large tower that only appears during the dark hour, a hidden 25th hour of the day that only certain people can experience. Instead of demons, the party fights shadows, personifications of the dark side of human beings. Persona 3 was massively popular in Western markets, and marked the first mainstream success Shin Megami Tensei enjoyed in America. Persona 4 was the 2008 sequel. Carrying over the social simulation aspects from Persona 3, the gameplay was nearly a carbon copy of the third game. However, the plot received massive praise for its mature handling of character sexuality and gender issues and refined gameplay. The Devil Summoner spin-off series also got two new entries, two prequels starring detective and devil summoner Raido Kuzunoa XIV and his adventures in 1920s Japan. While the two games did retain the demon loyalty system from the other two Devil Summoner games, the Raido games made an unexpected turn and changed the style of gameplay into an action RPG. After Shin Megami Tensei 9's failure to launch, Atlus created a proper MMORPG called Shin Megami Tensei Imagine. The game takes place in between Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2. Atlus continued their support of Nintendo handhelds with the release of Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey for the DS, another entry in the main series. Atlus has said that Strange Journey was the first time a game in the series was developed with a Western audience in mind. In fact, the game originally was going to be named Shin Megami Tensei 4, but the name was changed due to Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2 not having received official English releases, and because the game took place in Antarctica instead of Japan. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor was a strategy RPG for the DS that explored how humanity would react to a severe crisis. Trapped in a city due to a government lockdown, it's up to the player to get rid of the demons and end the lockdown within 7 days. An updated port for the 3DS called Devil Survivor Overclocked featured voice acting and added playable epilogues for certain endings. Devil Survivor 2, also for the DS, featured a similar plot but with focus put more on character development and interacting with your party members instead of the fall of civilization. A 3DS updated port is in the works named Devil Survivor 2 Break Record. For PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, Persona 4 Arena was released. Dropping the RPG gameplay in favor of being an anime-styled fighter, Persona 4 Arena was developed by Arc System Works, creators of the Guilty Gear and BlazBlue series. Persona 4 Arena's story takes place shortly after the events of Persona 4 and also includes characters from Persona 3. Next month, Shin Megami Tensei 4 will be released in the US for the 3DS. With the largest roster of collectible demons in the series, and a setting quite unlike any other Shin Megami Tensei game, SMT4 is expected to be a great entry in the main series. Nintendo and Atlus have also teamed up to make a Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem crossover for the Wii U, marking the first release of an SMT game on a Nintendo home console since the Super Famicom. As of this video, there's no set release date. But what makes Shin Megami Tensei so great, you might ask? Part of it is its creativity and its unique style. Many RPGs get stuck in the mud because they reuse the same old European medieval fantasy enemies, weaponry, and setting. Shin Megami Tensei is usually set in a more contemporary setting, with enemies being based on religions and folklore from all over the world and all of its history. Another reason is the mature subject matter. The portrayal of the Abrahamic God, who many worship today, as being a morally ambiguous, if not outright evil being, has been controversial. While many say the games are anti-religion, Atlus and series fans have continued to deny this claim, saying that if anything, the choice to represent Christian figures in such a way was to be symbolic and philosophical, not as a direct attack on Christianity. The mature subject matter doesn't end with religious portrayals, however. Shin Megami Tensei also includes themes of death, betrayal, friendship, love, and sexuality in a way that many RPGs are not willing to do. For others, the deep, challenging gameplay keeps them coming back. Unlike many other RPGs, battles are not simply filler events that occur in between cutscenes. Every enemy encounter is a fight for your life, and if you're unprepared, the chances are very high you will die. However, the challenging gameplay means that every time you fuse a new, powerful demon or kill a boss, there's a deep feeling of satisfaction and triumph that easy games just can't provide. And last but not least, the variety of demons available to recruit and use in battle is a series mainstay. Every game includes hundreds of demons, each with unique personalities and abilities. Demon fusion allows two demons to become one, and the resulting demon inherits the abilities and stats from the two previous demons. Figuring out ways to fuse demons with powerful skill sets and stats is a rewarding experience all its own. This concludes the first part of the guide. Tune in to the next episode where I discuss gateway games and getting into the series.